All right, so let us introduce this course. So this is TC9, Costing and Budgetary Control. So this is basically the cover page of our manual. This is how it looks like. Most of you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you should have a copy of this manual because this will be the bedrock for you to pass the exam that is forthcoming. So I'll be taking you through the course. My name is Mark Harrington Piri, and I will be taking you through the course from start to finishing, equipping you with the very best knowledge and abilities for you to actually sit for the exam, and most of all, make you understand all the concept for future use. So, uh, let's start off by introducing the manual, right? So we'll be looking at what the manual actually talked about, how we should use the manual, introductions, the aim of the manual, and so forth. And later on, I'll also give you some tips of how to go about in preparing for the exam and how much focus you should give for you to easily pass the exam. So basically, let's start off. Introduction. The Institute noted that a number of difficulties faced by students when preparing for the Institute's exam. One of the difficulties has been the unavailability of manuals specifically written for the Institute's examination. In the past, students have relied on textbooks which were not tailor-made for the institute's examination and the Malawian environment. So the problem that was there before, those people that sat for the Pike exam, was that they were using regular textbooks, any other textbook. So the bad thing about that was that you might read some context that is not examined, right? That means wasting your time, focusing on other stuff that want to be examined, or reading too less. Now, the institute thought it wise that they actually come up with a tailor-made text for the exam. So, the focus of this course, my course, is that I'll be basing it on the manual because this manual is tailor-made for the exam. I did not use any other material apart from the manual. So that means you should be aware that I use the manual throughout the course. So, what is the aim of the manual? The manual has been developed in order to provide resources that will help the institute student attain the needed skills. It is therefore recommended that each student should have their own copy. So the main aim of the manual is basically equipping you with the right knowledge, right? Necessary for you pass the exam, but most of all, to use it and apply it in the real world. So you definitely have to have a copy. The good thing is that the copies are available for digital copies, so it's close to free. So you can even find your hard copy at ICOM offices at 3,000 or from people that have already passed the exam. So how do we use the manual? So students are being advised to read chapter by chapter. Very important. We need to read chapter by chapter in the order as set in the manual because subsequent work often builds on topics covered earlier. So it means that if we are going chapter 3, there's likelihood that some of the knowledge has been assumed knowledge from previous chapters. So that's why I'm saying that it is advisable for you to actually read chapter by chapter. And that's basically my approach throughout the course, chapter by chapter. Students are also advised to attempt questions at the end of the chapter. So most of the chapters in the manual will have end of chapter questions. So you're advised to actually attempt these questions, right? The manual will also be supported with a number of resources which students should keep checking on the ICAM website. So on top of this, in my course, I have arranged all the recent papers in according to the topics that after you go through the course, the chapter, you can go immediately and practice some of the exam style questions on the similar exam. So this is how it looks like. So, like for example, chapter 1, introduction to costing. So you will have these questions, like question number 4A, right, in June, right, was to do with this. Question number 3A and 4B in June 2019 was about to do introduction. So after the topic covered, you can go straight and practice. That means as you go, you build on your knowledge in the way they are examined in the real exam. By the end of the whole 14th chapter, you'll be ready for the exam itself. So that's basically very important material for you. I've categorized all the questions from 2014-2021. So basically, you can actually look at that. That means you'll be very equipped for the exam. So in conjunction with the manual, you use my videos, you use them hand in hand, right? But if you chose not to use the manual, right, and use my video, it's also good because I have explained everything that is in the manual. I haven't skipped anything. So it's as good as going through the manual, right? It's as good as me reading for you the manual and explaining all the concepts that you actually grasp everything. So you can use my materials, right? I have a set of materials that I'm going to give to you for you to actually be equipped for the exam forthcoming. So that's basically it. Now let us look at the aim of the study, right? To enable students understand the principle of costing, their application in product costing, management information system, and preparation of budgets and budgetary control. That's basically the main aim of the syllabus, right? Let us look at the objectives of the syllabus. By the end of the study, students should be able to, first, ascertain the cost for products and services using appropriate costing method and use to establish prices. So first thing should help you to know how to establish a cost of a product or service and then help you establish a price, right, for the same. The second thing is prepare budgets for various activity using appropriate budget approaches and methods. Help you prepare budgets. The third is that you should be able to analyze standards, budgets of various activities and compare with actuals to explain the difference. This is called variance analysis. And lastly, use relevant cost theory to explain simple and short-term management decisions. So basically, the syllabus objectives are as stated above. So now let us look at the format and standard of the exam. So we should know that the exam itself, the pass mark is 50%, right? And the paper contains 5 questions, right? 5 questions, and all of them will actually carry 20 marks. That means you will have to answer all of them. There is no longer an option to choose. Previously, you were supposed to choose. There were actually 7, you choose 5, but now it is actually constrained to 5, and you have to answer all of the 5 questions. Right, so that's basically it. Now let us look at the specification grid. So the specification grid is just basically information helping us know how much a particular topic has in the exam, the weighting in the exam. So the grid shows the relative weightings of topics within the course and should provide guidance regarding the time to be spent on each. So the 14 chapters in the syllabus can be categorized in three broad groups. The first one is cost ascertainment. So cost ascertainment will carry 40% of the weighting in the exam. So cost ascertainment will cover these 8 chapters, right? Introduction to costing, accounting for and control of material, accounting for and control of labor, accounting for and control of overhead, marginal costing, activity costing, costing methods, and process costing. So these 8 are covering the broad topic area called cost ascertainment or cost establishment, and this is covering 40% of the exam. So let us look at what is actually covered in a cost ascertainment. So you should be able to know or establish cost for products and services using appropriate costing method and use them to establish price. So it's all about how to establish cost, and thereafter how can we establish a price after establishing the cost. So you should be able to first understand the basic concept of cost accounting, then classify cost into fixed, variable, and mixed, and also be able to separate mixed cost into fixed and variable components, and select the cost suitable method for costing different products or services. Then understand basic concepts of overhead allocation, apportionment, and absorption. Then prepare management information using marginal costing, absorption costing, and reconcile the differences in profit reported. And lastly, use non-traditional costing method in the provision of information. So this is to do with cost establishment or cost ascertainment, and it is covered in the first 8 chapters of the syllabus. Going to planning, performance measurement, and control. So this broad topic area is covered in the next 4 chapters from chapter 9 to chapter 12. Standard cost, budgeting, flexible budget and budgetary control, and various analysis. So this is called planning, performance measurement, and control. So let us look at what this covers. Students will be able to identify and describe the purpose of standard costing system, the application in budgetary control, select appropriate budgeting approaches and method, and prepare budgets. So you should be able to understand the concepts of standards and standard costing and how they are set, explain how budgeting fits into the overall planning and control framework, identify and describe the various stages in the budgeting process, prepare functional and master budgets using different techniques, apply the principles of flexible budget in budgetary control, and lastly, calculate the difference between actual performance and standards or budgets in terms of cost and volume effects, and identify possible reasons for those differences. So that's planning, performance measurement, and control, and that's covered in the next 4 chapters, and it covers a weighting of 30%, 30% overall. And lastly, decision making is covered in the last 2 chapters: cost, volume, profit analysis, CVP, and decision making, and it covers an overall weighting of 30% in the exam. And basically, you are supposed to know this following. Students should be able to apply the principles of marginal costing and relevant cost for use in management decision making. Students should be able to calculate the break-even point, contribution, margin of safety for decision for given products or services, understand cost, volume, profit analysis, assumptions and limitations, distinguish between relevant and irrelevant cost and revenue for decision making, and describe the key concept that should be applied for presenting information for product mix decision when capacity constraint applies. And lastly, describe how marginal costing can assist in short-term decision making. So that's basically to do with decision making. So those are the weightings of the different topic areas for the exam. So basically, that's basically the introduction to this. Now let's just talk about the exam, just an insight for you to easily pass the exam. As I said, the pass mark is only 50%, right? 50%. You're just required to know at least 50% and you're good to go to pass, right? So, most people have a misconception that this paper is computational, or let me just say the majority is computational. But this is a misconception now because recent past papers have shown that the exam is at least 50% computational, right? 50% computational, right? Or calculations, 50% theory. That means for you to pass, you definitely have to be good at both, right? But most of the papers have been weighted on the theory. They have asked over than 50% theory question in most of the exam. That means for you to pass the exam, you definitely have to leverage this, because I feel like the theory questions are repetitive. They are the same type of questions that are going to be asked. Leverage this for you to pass. For example, if there were 50%, you definitely have to get at least 35% of, let's say, marks, and you definitely have to just pass 15% for you to pass. So leverage this, right? Leverage this, because these theory questions are repetitive. They are asking them time and again the same or the question, maybe with a little twist to them, right? The wording, right? But they are repetitive. For that reason, right, I have made a particular handout that categorizes the recent past paper theory question into the topic areas. So for example, you have introduction, you have the type of questions that are there in the recent exams. That means you'll be able to leverage this so that you are one step ahead of the examiner all the time, right? You have the same with chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. For you to pass this exam, leverage the theory part. Even if the computation part was so difficult, if you leverage the theory part, you will pass the exam. Just to prove this, right, I'm going to I'm going to open a recent past paper. And that's December 2021. And I'll go through this past paper and actually calculate how many questions were actually theory, right? All the times the last question is 100% theory. That means the last question 20% is theory. So this is basically December. It was actually wrote in November, right? November, right? But let's start to count how many questions were there. You can see here, explain 3, that's theory. We have 3. Explain how, that means that's the theory, that's 2, that's basically 4, right? Together, we are on 7, right? We are on 7, right? Then you have define the following. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5, right? 5 plus 7, that's basically 12. We are at 12, right? So far, this is basically computational. That means first question out of 20, you have what? 12 already. First question, 12. Now going to the second one, we have 5, because they're saying mention 5, right? This is basically computation B is computational, right? You can see variance is computational. Here in the context of decision making, right? Another theory, that's another 4, right? State the importance, another 4. So you have 4 together, 8, plus This 5, that's 13. 13. Have you seen 13? The first one, we had 12. The second one, we have 13. The third one, we have here 1. Right? That's theory. Right? So this is more of computation, 10 marks. Right? That's not part of it. This is another 10 marks. That's computation as well. So in this question, there's only 1 mark. Right? That was theory. Right? Theory. Now going to the fourth one, we have 3. Right? Because they're saying explain. Another explain we have here 6 together, that's 9. Right? That's computational, and you have 9. So the last one is basically 20 marks theory. So the whole 20 marks. So let's now calculate. You have 20 plus 9, that's 29, plus 1, that's 30, right? Plus 13, that's 43, plus another 12, that's 55. You can see that 55% of the exam was theory. 55% of the exam was theory. That means 45 was what? Competition. That's why I'm saying that leverage this to your advantage. Leverage this to your advantage. If you went through the theory questions, you will see that most of the questions, you will find them on this handout because they are repetitive kind of questions. So we have to leverage this for us to pass. For example, if somebody was very good at that exam on the theory part and you are able to get 40% of it, you just had to get 10% on the computation. Even if you were so bad at the computation, but you would actually get that 10% and actually pass. Right? So I feel like that don't neglect the theory part. That is the part that will make you pass. Right? Let us leverage this for our advantage. Most people say that in a class theory but you can see that theory marks are more than the computation, but let us leverage this to our advantage and pass the exams. So basically, that's the context of the exam. I hope this video helps you know the direction to take as we go through the whole course. Watch topic by topic. After every topic, go to my master plan. My master plan is that's basically the categorization of the questions. This is called master plan. Right? Master plan, practice a couple of questions on that topic so that you enhance your knowledge and apply them to real type of questions that the examiner has examined before. So at the end of it, you should be guaranteed to pass way above 50%, even getting the high grades of 80%, 90%, even getting awards for it. So you don't really have to go in class for this. This is as good as going into the class. So this is a approach that you should take throughout the 14 chapters that we're going to go through. I hope this helps you better position you for the exam that is coming. So thank you and